In today's video, we're going to be discussing how much does it cost to start a private security company. Does it cost $34,700 or does it cost $3,490? Before we go further into the subject, let's talk about my disclaimer. My disclaimer to you is this: I am not an attorney. Nothing in this video shall be construed to be legal advice or professional advice. I try my best to make sure that the content in this video is as accurate as possible, but just being human, sometimes I'll make mistakes. Sometimes an error or omission can lead to costly litigation as well. Again, I try my best to make sure that the content is as accurate as possible. If you have any questions about whether something is legal or not, you definitely want to talk to an attorney. This is also not professional advice, and let me be clear on that. The facts, the circumstances in your case may differ from the discussion that we're having in this video. So you definitely want to seek out the advice from a professional consultant if an attorney can't help you. Many of you are interested in the number that I have to the left, $3,490. To the right, I have $6,159. I'm going to show you what these numbers represent. However, before we delve further into this, if I had to give an address to this plan, I would give it the address of 123 Skeleton Drive, because you are operating on bare bones. Your skeleton doesn't have any skin, doesn't have any organs, doesn't have a shirt, doesn't have pants, doesn't even have socks, doesn't have a hat, doesn't have a raincoat, doesn't have a beanie, has nothing. You're operating on bare bones, and you are exposing yourself, and you're about to cook a recipe of disaster. However, in California, you can legally operate with about $3,490. It might not be exact, but that's a number that I'm going to justify to you in a minute. Or I'm going to explain to you how I get to $3,490. On the right, $6,159. That is what you will be paying by the 12th month. And I'm going to explain everything right now. So how do we get $6,159? Remember, at the end of the 12th month, you would have paid $6,159. $3,490 represents cash out of your pocket. You're going to have to pay $1,409 in licensing fees. That is not negotiable at all. About half of those fees go to the private security company license, which is called the private patrol operator license. The other half goes to licensing exam fees. Those of you who are in California, every license has to have a qualified manager attached to that license. That person takes the qualified manager exam. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. You have to have a qualified manager attached to the license. If you're in another state, I highly recommend in this whole program that you get out a pen or paper and take notes. If you have to, pause this video right now. I'm really asking you to pause it because I think it's going to benefit you. But pause it and go to your state licensing website and see how much the license fees are, and write it down on a piece of paper. How much does it cost for those fees? If you are on Google or some other search engine, just type in licensing fees for private security company in whatever state that you're operating in. Many states have what's called a Department of Public Safety, and their security company licensing boards fall under the Department of Public Safety on many states. So $1,409 is not negotiable. $3,900 commercial liability insurance. We're going to change the numbers up a little bit based on different information that I get, but more or less you're going to pay $3,900. Yes, you can get a $3,700 policy. You guys that are in other states, you can get a $2,000 policy, maybe a $1,700 policy. But in California, where the rates are one of the highest, expect a $3,900 commercial policy for something that is not extremely high risk. When I mean high risk, I mean something like a marijuana grow. That's going to be high risk. Executive protection, for VIPs or for celebrities. That is high risk. When you work bars or clubs, that's high risk. Anywhere where alcohol is served, that's going to be high risk. Government contracts, you're not going to, most of the time, pay only $3,900. Your premiums is going to be up there. But from a $3,900 policy, there are companies out there that will allow you to put 10% down, some 20% down. Some are more generous, will let you put 20% down. You just put 10 or 20% from $3,900, and you get the insurance policy now, and you just keep making payments. Workers' comp insurance. I put here 0 because in California, if you're the owner operator, and what I'm referring to is this, you are the person that's working the contracts. You have the uniform. You're patrolling on foot, however you patrol, and you are the guard, and you are the owner of the company, and you are the qualified manager of the company. You're working, and you have no employees. The moment, now this is California law, and I'm sure that other laws, other states are very similar to California, but the moment you hire one employee, you need workers' compensation insurance. In California, generally speaking, remember I'm not an attorney, but you generally do not need workers' comp insurance on yourself because it's just yourself. Okay, this is still a horrible idea because if you want to hire somebody, you're gonna have to wait maybe weeks for a quote, maybe a couple days for a quote, but you might not get a policy that fast. So you got to be really careful with working under 0 workers' comp insurance, but you can. Okay, you can. Let's see what else. $200 business license. Further in this presentation, we're going to go a little bit further into this on business licenses, and the prices, you guys, the prices are going to vary, but if you process a business license on your own, okay, you can expect about $200, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. $100 fee for a DBA statement, doing business as. This is also known as a fictitious business statement. Whenever you operate in a name that is not your legal name, you need a DBA filing. You have to process this filing at the county recorder's office, and in addition, you have to publish what your proposed name is going to be in a newspaper of circulation. You guys ever see these cheap newspapers, like local newspapers? They're usually free. When you come to a lot of these small towns, well, in the back are lists of advertisements, but there's also a list of DBA filings. These small papers are able to exist because of all the DBA filings in the back that are mandatory. You might have to pay $30 or $40 for the statement. Basically, if somebody wants to object to your name, they can, and they have a certain number of days. It might be 20 days or 30 days or 45 days. I'm not sure. That's California law, to my understanding. Please check with the laws of your state. Now, if your name is, so my name is Sean Sundall, actually Sean Edward Sundall. If I'm operating my company as Sean Associates, well, I'm not operating in the same name as my legal name, so I need a DBA filing. I need other people to know who I really am, just in case you want to sue me, and if it goes to court, okay, we need to know that we're suing the right person, and that's the whole purpose for DBA filing. Okay, for corporations, if your company name is, your corporate name is 123 Incorporated, okay, and you're operating under Security Company ABC, you're operating a different name than your legal name, because your legal name is the first name I just discussed. Okay, so that's all about DBA. I put $550 for patch design. With patches and badges, it will cost the most is the actual template, the mold. Once you get the mold, the template, the design going, the badges are usually not too expensive, and the shoulder patches are not too expensive as well. They might run $3 each, $5 each, 50 cents each. It just depends on where you go. But $550 is a number that you can work with, okay? Guys, the numbers that I produce here, 3490 and 6159. Remember, at the end of the year, you'll pay 6159. You're operating as an owner operator. You're working your own contracts. You're doing everything yourself. You're doing payroll yourself. Any paperwork. You're doing any HR paperwork, processing invoices yourself. You are a one-man or woman team. Okay, this does not include any advertising, no website, no business cards, no office equipment. Okay, this is it's really the bare bones. That's why I call this plan the 1, 2, 3 skeleton drive plan or address. Very dangerous to operate in this manner. You're exposing yourself to so much failure. Okay, but I will say this. If there's no other way that you think that you can save the amounts I recommend here, then I think it's a viable idea to go through this route, the 123 skeleton drive route. We need to be honest with ourselves and make some assumptions here in this video. How do we get to 34,700? We need to be clear that this number is for one unarmed foot patrol full-time assignment. By full-time assignment, I am referring to a 40-hour work week and a work period. At the end of a work period, one would have worked 80 hours. There's a total of 26 pay periods. There's no health care, retirement benefit with this 34,700, no radio communications, and all expenses are paid off. I highly recommend that you do not borrow any money to start a private security company. I did some calculations on a simple interest calculator, and this is what I found is that for a 10-year period, if you want to borrow 34,700, it's going to cost more or less for 10 years about $440 a month. Okay, $444 a month for 10 years. I encourage you to do your own calculations. This is what I came up with. If you default on your business or your business is not successful, you don't get any contracts, or you don't get the contracts you need to stay alive, business-wise, stay alive, okay, your business is going to shut down. There's some statistics out there tell us that about 50% of businesses will close within a 3-year period. I think sometimes some stats are out there tells us within 5 years. About half of you watching this video will have your business close. Now, if you don't heed the warnings, I do provide a lot of trainings. If you're more trained in something, you might be better off. But if you just go into this field blindfolded, you might be one of these 50% business owners who just fall into the trap and your business dies. If your business dies with the calculations I did on a loan, okay, you're going to be paying $440 or $450 a month for 10 years for a business that does not exist anymore. So not only are you broke, you're negative broke. Okay, you're actually you're in a worse off predicament if you have to pay on a loan for this money that you have to borrow. I tell you right now that it's a good feeling having all this paid off. It looks good on paper when all your debts are paid off. If you have to make monthly payments or you have to owe somebody at the end of some term, it also causes you to take more risk for your business. You're most likely going to take on the riskier contracts just so that you don't default on a loan and that you keep thriving, if that's what you want to call it. Okay, so there's going to be no radio communication. I just said that. All the expenses are paid off. And with 34700, we're forecasting on the higher end of the budget. You always want to forecast plan higher, because if you don't, well, you're gonna have to play catch up and find out ways how to get that money. We're gonna assume with 34700 that you're not working. Remember, you're gonna have your employee that's going to be working full-time 40 hours a week, and that you are operating in California. If you're from another state where the cost of living isn't too much, maybe Alaska, okay, or some of the cities in the south of the United States, southern states. 34700, you might be forecasting a little bit too high, and you can get away with a lower number than that. The thing I like about using the California example is California, just everything out here costs a little bit more. Those of you who are in New York, you're probably comparable. It just depends where you're at. So if you think 34700 is attainable and you're from another state, well, you're going to be having a budget that is reasonable, and it's foreseeable that you're able to close any gaps that might be out there. $1,409. These are licensing fees for those of you who are Californians. If you're from another state, go back to your state website, find out how much fees are needed, and then come back and write down a piece of paper before you continue this video. $1,409 is what's needed. Let me break down the cost for you. So $550 is needed for your initial PPO, your private patrol operator application and exam. $770 for your initial license. $32 for Department of Justice. By the way, you guys, these fees are not negotiable. $17 for FBI fingerprint clearance, and $40 for Livescan fee. This can change. You can find a facility that charges $20, $25, $30, maybe $50, maybe $75. I chose $40 because that's on the higher end, but because of the COVID-19 pandemic, we have seen these Livescan fees increase a lot. And $40 might be a bargain if almost all the facilities are closing down, they're closed, or they are only taking a certain number of clients per day. So we can always shop for different fees, for Livescan fees, but we can't shop around for the initial application, the initial license, the DOJ, and the FBI fee. Those are not negotiable. Also, keep in mind for the qualified manager reexaminations. So in California, the private patrol operator refers to the owner of the private security company. Each private security company has to be ran by a qualified manager. And the qualified manager is the person who takes the qualified manager exam. There is no security company exam. There's only one exam in order to run a private security company. It's called the qualified manager exam. Private patrol operator qualified manager exam. If you fail the exam and you have to retest, it costs $60. But I want you to start thinking like a business person. If the facility where you take the test, if it's located far away, I mean an hour or two away, you guys, you might get hungry when you're done with the exam. It is a stressful test. Most people pass it, by the way, in the higher 80 percentiles, by the way. But you're out there, you're stressed out, far away. You might have to buy some food if you didn't bring it with you. Travel expenses, that's wear and tear on your car, gas, okay, and then our biggest asset that we have as individuals is the time that takes you drive there. I mean, if you're in Los Angeles traffic, depending on where you live, if you live maybe the Inland Empire or Ontario area, I mean, it'd be easy hour and 45 minute to 2 hour drive on that 60 freeway or the 10. You guys, that's time. It might take you two hours, 4 hours round trip in traffic. You could have been working somewhere and earning somewhere. I mean, if you're getting paid $15 an hour and you're using up 4 hours for this whole testing procedure, well, that's $60 right there. Or what if you're getting paid $100 an hour or $200 an hour? I mean, you just keep losing money. Okay, that's why try your best to pass it the first time, but re-examinations are $60, and it just wastes time. If you fail the exam, it will take you about 4 to 6 weeks to be eligible to sit for a retest. A good majority of your budget is going to go to insurance. $8,260. Let's see how we got there. So, as a rule of thumb, if you want to know how much your workers' comp policy is going to be, I would use 10% as a general rule. Okay, 10% off of the expected wages, how much you're going to pay this person. You're going to pay this person a lot more, your workers' comp is going to be up there. Okay, workers' comp covers this person in case there's a work-related injury, and they'll cover the employee for a set amount of time, including medical expenses. In private security, there's a greater chance of somebody being injured than somebody sitting at a desk taking phone calls or maybe being a dispatcher. For police departments, 12%, 13%, even 11% workers' comp policy on top of the salary is not uncommon. And with police officers, there's usually a greater risk of injury. So I don't foresee workers' comp policies going anywhere past 13%, 14%. I think 10% is a good number to work with, and that's based on however much you're going to pay this person. I had somebody reach out to me about a week ago, and he told me that his insurance company gave him a quote of 7%. Okay, 7% off of the worker's wages. But remember, we're always gonna on this video, we're gonna forecast higher. If you happen to get a better deal, then that's great. So let's use 10%. And $3,900 for commercial liability insurance. I'm gonna say this again. This is for something that is lower risk on the spectrum. If you're doing marijuana, a marijuana dispensary, that's higher risk. A club or a bar, especially where alcohol is served, nightclubs. If you are working in a government facility, you're protecting a celebrity, okay, maybe something that's on the top 5 charts. You're not going to be paying a $3,900 commercial liability insurance policy. It's going to be maybe 300% more, 400%. It just depends on the type of assignment. But $3,900 is on the average. Most people who call me, these talk to me, their policies are about $3,900, but they're not engaging in anything that's high risk. $5,650 is what I calculated for startup costs. Let's see how we got to that number. $1,000 for a website. Yes, you can do it yourself. In the beginning, I did my own website, and I also had somebody else create a website for me, and I paid about $1,000. Actually, it was $700, maybe $800. And they claimed that the website was going to be site engine optimized, SEO. I later found out that I couldn't even find my own business on Google. This company was not truthful to me. This company had advertisements on TV, and I will never ever trust them again. But you can pay $1,000 for a website. You could pay $500 for a website. You can pay $10,000 for a website. But on average, that's a number that I would factor in. It's about $1,000. I have my website through GoDaddy, which I created myself. It is a lot of work, you guys. You're gonna spend a lot of time, a lot of uncompensated time if you do it yourself. And if you don't have talent to or patience to create your website, it's gonna be very frustrating for you. It might be worth paying a little bit more to have somebody do it for you. What I suggest, if you feel comfortable doing so, is go to Upwork.com. That's UPWORK.com. I will provide an array of links for you guys. I will have some affiliate links, and I'll have some links that are not affiliate links. If it's affiliate link, then you will know, but I'll provide an array of links soon. But try Upwork.com, and you can find website developers there, and there's a lot in other countries that can do it for a lot cheaper. If you want to find somebody that can do it in the United States, then you're gonna pay a little bit more money. The choice is definitely yours. $1,000 for a computer. $1,000 can buy you a computer that will function for your business. It'll do the minimum, maybe a little bit more. You guys that are computer experts or gurus out there, by all means, you can buy your $2,000 computer, or you can buy your computer and just build it up. You can build your own computer as well. But that's how this is the amount I factored in for computers. $1,000 in uniforms and equipment. Okay, don't go out there and start buying the cheapest material uniform out there. Get something that withstands the test of criticism out there. We don't want our guard force to look sloppy. We don't want to give them one uniform if they're going to be working 5 days a week. Okay, human nature tells us when we're tired, we might not clean the uniform. We might leave dirt on it, debris, anything. Don't give them one uniform, you guys. I recommend four sets of uniforms. That's shirts and pants. I think 3, a little bit more reasonable. But if they're working 5 days a week, try your best not to give them under 4 sets. If you have to, then do it. But I tell you this: you just give them one set of uniforms. They may not be clean. They might be running late because they forgot to start the dryer. Try uniforms that generally don't need ironing. There are some out there, but obviously also you got to enforce your dress code as well. You guys do not go cheap on the uniforms. $1,000 will suit you for this is kind of like an emergency fund. If there's anything I didn't list that you might need, $1,000 might save you. Okay, you might want to even increase that to $2,000, but I think $1,000 is something that we can work with. There might be an emergency contract coming up. Maybe we need to buy radio or something. A small little radio system. Maybe we need to buy a gadget or something. $1,000 is going to save you. Maybe you need more, but this is a number we can work with. $500 in business license and filing fees. Okay, previously I think I mentioned about $250. On the higher end, $500, you guys, for business license and filing fees. This is assuming that you're hiring a company to get your business license. I will leave a link for Zoom, LegalZoom, LEGAL, and then space ZOOM. They're a company that will help you help you get your business license process arrangements. and you'll probably pay about $500 for that service. Something else I forgot to mention, that $250 earlier I mentioned for business licensing, that's you filing it yourself. But if you want somebody to file for you, you're going to pay a premium, a total of about $500. Printer, okay, you're going to need a high quality printer. There's a lot of documents that you're going to print out, especially you run this office. You may not be happy with your home printer and have to pay $350 for a printer that's more suited for office environment. You're going to be printing lots of stuff out. $350 for a patch design, $250 for a badge design, and $200 for business cards. You guys, business cards are still used out here in the day and age of smartphones and email and advertisements. There's still people out there that will ask for your business card. I think $200 will get you squared away with having to pay the design and cost for printing out these cards. So $5,650. If anything is going to vary in numbers, this is the part of the presentation that's going to vary depending on your geographic location. $15,672. Let's discuss this. So this is 4 months of savings for office expenses. Why 4 months? Have you guys ever heard of Dave Ramsey? He's a financial planner. He runs a successful YouTube channel. He writes some awesome books. And his recommendation is that you save, just in case of emergency, you have an emergency, he recommends that you save between 3 to 6 months of expenses. There's very little talk about businesses. We're going to apply this recommendation to the business world. After COVID-19, after I saw firsthand what COVID-19 did to many small business owners and even larger business owners, after I seen the devastation that it created and how much business was shut down, I think 4 months is a reasonable idea of saving money for. So save for 4 months. That's my recommendation. We're going to meet Dave Ramsey somewhere in the middle between 3 and 6 months. Let's save 4 months. I think this is something that you guys can do as well. How do I get this number? Let's discuss this. So $3,918, that's going to be for every month of expenses. You're going to have $3,333 of rent a month. Well, hold on, you guys, okay? You're probably saying, where's this? This is more or less the San Francisco area. Now, I know you might be in another state. You might be in other more southern parts of California, and $3,333 for rent would get you a mansion in the business world for rent. But if you're in San Francisco, this might actually be a steal, okay? But I just want to use the higher rate. You always want to budget higher than usual, okay? You don't want to under budget anything. Basically, now I'm not in real estate, but the average cost, more or less, is about $80 per square foot in San Francisco. Okay, find out what the average how much the average cost for square footage in your area, and determine how much square foot you will need. I used to have an office in Chino, and that office, Chino, California, that's near Ontario. For those of you who are not familiar with the area, in my office, I had 500 square foot. That was sufficient space to operate a physical location for private security and private investigations, okay, and training as well. I was able to bring in between about 2 to 8 people comfortably in there, and then we also had a conference room where I can fill it up about 12. But 500 square foot, it worked for me. It might not work for you, but hey, this is just something to look at when you're looking at the classifieds. Hey, 500 square foot work for Sean. Maybe it might work for you. $250 in utilities. I calculated yours could be cheaper. $200 for cell phone service. Okay, I repeat, do not use your own personal cell phone for business related adventures out there, you guys. Try to keep your phones separate. Okay, keep personal life, business life different. You're going to be a lot more stress free if you operate that way. Okay, so look, most of this presentation assumes that you're going to start off small. Okay, you probably don't have enough money or revenue coming in to hire somebody that's in charge of payroll or somebody that does payroll, does HR related responsibilities. You might want to hire an independent payroll service, and you could find some that are about $46 a month. Okay, they're out there. You guys, I'm going to have some links that are at that are going to be towards either the end of the video, or I will leave them in the description box below of wherever this video is going to be shown. Okay, it will guide you in the right direction. I may have some affiliate links, but most of the links will probably be non-affiliated links. $40 for accounting software. So guys, I have Intuit QuickBooks that I use, and whenever I purchase a business related item, I'm able to input the category, the cost, and upload a receipt to QuickBooks. This makes my accounting so much more easier. At the end of the year, I'm able to print out a profits and loss statement, and I can give that statement to my tax preparer, and this person can work on my taxes a lot easier, almost pain free. It just makes everything so much easier. If I go to somewhere for training, I'll write off the training course, the travel, the lodging, and instead of just keeping notes on an Excel document, I can input all this information into Intuit QuickBooks. Inside of QuickBooks, I can integrate with PayPal. So I buy something through PayPal, automatically QuickBooks will receive the information from PayPal and it'll show the deduction, and it's automated because you might be busy one week and you might not have time to be inputting every single expense into QuickBooks. But with the PayPal integration, this is something that is done automatically. At the end of the month or the week, you might have to make some small adjustments, but it just, you guys, it makes it so much easier when you have QuickBooks. QuickBooks is kind of like your own personal accountant. However, the information depends on what you put in there, and if you put inaccurate information, well, you're going to have inaccurate accounting practices. The other item we need to discuss is $49 for prepaid legal service. When you're starting out, you may not have a lot of capital up front to hire an attorney if you need to, and that is why I recommend some type of prepaid legal service. About $49 a month. You could consult with them. Some companies have a cutoff time. You may be only able to consult with them maybe 2 hours a year, 5 hours a year. There's some cutoff limits. But remember, your half an hour consultation with an attorney could save you a lifetime of disaster and legal fees if you make a legal mistake. A lot of these prepaid legal services, they'll also review, included in the $49 charge, they will review your contracts and make sure that you're writing up a legal enforceable document, because if not, your contract doesn't have any weight in court. Okay, guys, one other thing to consider, and there's actually some hope with this 4-month savings for office expenses. If you become unemployed, maybe you lose a contract. In the beautiful state of California, you get about 26 weeks of unemployment insurance benefits. Okay, it's not going to be, it may not help 100% of your losses for the month, but it is some relief. If you're in another state, it's very easy to look up the unemployment insurance for your area, ladies and gentlemen. Just look up the unemployment division or the employment division for your state, and you can normally find out how much unemployment you would get. So California, it's 26 weeks. Whenever there's a pandemic or some financial disaster, sometimes the federal government steps up and will extend the unemployment insurance, the timeline that you can have it. Okay, so California, max 26 weeks. You cannot get unemployment insurance if you do not pay your payroll taxes. So what you have to do is hire yourself as a W-2 employee, and all that really involves is payroll taxes. Pay your payroll taxes, pay from your own paycheck. You have to pay yourself something. If you become unemployed, then you're going to have the unemployment insurance. I know somebody, a man and wife who had a business, and they were paying the payroll taxes, and during the 2007, 8, or 9 market crash, their business went south. Okay, went downhill, but they were able to get unemployment insurance, and they were able to collect roughly about $4,000 a month, and it was longer than 26 weeks because the federal government stepped up and gave an extension to the 26-week period. But they were paying their own payroll taxes on themselves. Okay, if you think you're going to just pay yourself $5 a week, something just nominal, you're going to get barely anything in unemployment insurance. Okay, you can always look up the charts at the unemployment division from your state and see how much wages you'd need to be paid in order to get a certain amount. Okay, don't depend on this money coming in just in case you become unemployed or your business takes a hit, you lose a lot of your contracts. Don't depend on it. If it comes in, great. It's extra money in the bank that we really need. Okay, but try to be the captain of your own ship. Okay, try to save yourself. Save up that $15,672. If all of these line items apply to you, it will probably apply to maybe most of you. Okay, those of you who are going to be working in areas where rent is higher, okay, $15,672 is a drop in the bucket. You guys, you're going to have to save up more than that. If you can, try to save up more than 4 months. Try to save up 6 months, 8 months, 10 months. Okay, but hey, 4 months, that will give you that cushion. $3,702. This is for lost wages. This number is going to vary. I just talked to a gentleman from Florida, and he was telling me that minimum wage is $10. If you want to pay your employees minimum wage, if you're in California, you can't pay them $10. Okay, depending on how many employees you have. I think it's if you have over 26 or 25, you're supposed to be paying them $14 an hour. Eventually, minimum wage will get to $15, and we'll wait for legislation. Hopefully you don't have to pay your employees $15 all the time, but sometimes it might come down to that. Try to pay them as much as you can so you can retain the best and that you can hire the best as well. So let's talk about some numbers. How did I get to 3,702? Okay. We're going to assume here you're going to pay your employees $21 an hour. If you don't have that pen and paper out, please bring it out now. Whatever you're going to pay your employees. Okay. Here, for all intents and purposes, we're going to use $21 an hour times 160-hour work week. Remember, our assumptions in this video is that your employee works, that this is an employer-employee business where you're going to actually have an employee. This employee is going to work 160 hours. $21 multiplied by 160 hours will give you $3,360. If you think that that's it, there's a lot more to this. Okay. In California, you are required as an employer for the first 2 to 3 years, you're going to have to pay 3.4% of your employee's salary to unemployment insurance. Okay. After that, you're going to have to pay unemployment insurance at 6.2%. And here, there's going to be a maximum tax of $434 per employee annually. In California, the cutoff limit is the first $7,000. So after the first $7,000, you're not paying the 6.2% or the 3.4%. For all intents and purposes, we're always going to budget higher. So we're going to use the 6.2%, which gives us $36 out of $3,702. Remember, unemployment tax rate can go up. Okay, you can go all the way up to 8.85% on the first 7,000. Like always, you can go up. You normally go up when you start terminating employees, or even if they voluntarily leave. Well, actually, no, the termination, because in California, if you terminate an employee, most of the time, depending on what the reason is, you're going to have to pay a little bit more on your premium. I mean, this can be dollars, it can be hundreds, but it is significantly more when you fire an employee because state has to pay unemployment insurance. If the employee voluntarily leaves, generally, then there's no unemployment insurance tax penalty. Now, obviously, if they leave because of discrimination reasons, well, that's different. They could probably get unemployment insurance. Please research the unemployment insurance laws in your state. There's going to be in California 0.1% training tax. Check to see if that is something that your state requires too. This is a tax that's used to retrain employees or ex-employees. The EDD does it. The Employment Development Department in California does that. They offer training to these ex-employees of yours so that they can re-enter the workforce when they are ready and trained. So there's SDI tax, okay, of 1.2%. Okay, this is state disability insurance. Here it'll be $41 out of our $21 salary. Okay, if your employee goes disabled, state will step in. Okay. Remember, you might have to actually replace this employee temporarily while this employee is getting state disability as well. Okay, so just you got to also keep that in mind. 6.2%. So this is called FICA or FICA. FICA involves several taxes, and I'll discuss what the taxes are. The first one is Social Security, and this is 6.2%. And this is my understanding that this is off of the gross pay. Okay, 6.2% off of the gross salary, gross pay. Here it's $209. And then we have 1.45% of Medicare. Okay, and that's $49, you guys. When you total all these numbers up, you're going to probably get about It it comes out to about 15% of your employee's salary. Okay, it's about 15%. Employee pays about 7.4, 7.5%, and then the employer pays the other half. It's a split. Okay. I always like to budget on the higher end. Okay, but you guys, these are the numbers right here. 3702. I'm going to tell you right now that not every client is going to pay you on time. Some of them are going to be late. They're going to come up with this excuse of, I'm sorry, but I can't pay you on time because my other client didn't pay me. That's a common excuse. It's happened to me more than once. And when they can't pay you, you can't just not pay your employees. Okay, you're going to have legal problems with the labor department. And you're going to have to pay penalties, you're going to have to pay attorney fees because somebody's going to end up taking you to court. And what could possibly happen is the Attorney General's office for your state might take up the case and guide this person through the legal system so that they can civilly prosecute you for not paying you guys. This is almost like slavery, involuntary servitude. You have to pay your employees. So just at the very minimum, try to save up 1 month of lost wages per employee. In this setup, this video, we're assuming you have 1 employee, save up at least 1 month. And remember, not all clients are going to pay you bi-weekly. Okay, they're going to pay you at the end of the month. And sometimes, I'm telling you, sometimes they're late. But you have to pay your employees on time, every time. In my area, we have the Coachella Fest, which brings a lot of country singers and, I mean, hundreds, or I don't know, about maybe hundreds of thousands of people, aggregate. And you have all kinds of security companies, like different security companies, and a couple of them that I know by name, what I'm not going to mention, they don't pay their employees on time, and they come up with excuse that the promoters of the event did not pay them on time, therefore they cannot pay you on time, which is highly illegal. Come up with that. If you have to ask for a minimum 50% deposit, I mean, try to ask for 100% if you don't feel like you can get 100% deposit. I think 50% is fair with your client. Okay, if your client has problems paying 50%, you might, no matter how tempting this client is, no matter how tempting this contract might be, if you don't feel comfortable with at least 50%, then go elsewhere. But customary, I think 50% is something to work with. If they don't want to give you nothing, I'd be a little bit hesitant. I think if I was a lot more established and I had my ducks in a row, then I would probably be more tempted to accept a contract that where I didn't have to get the 50% deposit or 25%, whatever you want to ask for. I would also want you to consider HR training. And some of you, human resource training. Some of you might be wondering, well, I don't need HR training. No, you will need it. Okay. If you don't want to do it formally, get the training formally, you've got to do a lot of reading, because the amount of attorney fees or penalties that can attach to inaccurate record keeping, it might blow your business out of the water, or it's going to hit it so hard that it's going to take you some time to function. I'm going to give you some examples here. Let's talk about federal record retention requirements. All I'm doing is I'm illustrating the importance of having HR training. Job ads. My question to you is, how long do you have to keep a job ad for a specific position? It's 1 year. Screening test. Okay, you do some type of pre-employment screening test. Maybe you give them a written exam or oral interview. How long do you have to keep that screening test result for in the actual test? What do you think? Answer. You know the answer? 1 year. Timesheets. How long do you have to keep a timesheet for an employee? 3 years. Did you know that? because up until this video, I didn't know that. Safety data, workers' compensation papers. Somebody gets injured at the work site. How long do you have to keep the paperwork for? And I'm referring to the actual claim form and any documents that might accompany that. 5 years. FMLA records, Federal Medical Leave Act records. Somebody has a family member that needs some care, okay, and they need to take a leave. How long? And they request a leave, okay. That written request, how long do you got to keep that for? 3 years. Disability accommodations. Okay, if you accommodate an employee who has a qualifying disability, how long do you have to keep documents related to the accommodation for? 1 year. Any of you know that? Military leave records. Somebody that's in the military in your organization, they need to go on military leave. Maybe they're reserve and they need to do their monthly training. How long do you get to keep that record? Indefinite. Okay. How many of you got 100% on this? Most people would probably get 50% or lower. This is important because this is mandatory information. This is mandatory record retention requirements. And if you don't follow the law, then you're going to get fined. And again, it might blow your business out of the water. So how can you prevent something like this from happening? How can you better understand what the federal record retention requirements are? Well, you can get training. So there's an organization out there called SHRM. That's SHRM. And they have a California Law HR Specialty Credential course. And if you're a non-member, most of you are probably non-members, it's $1,930. In Q2 2021, where we are approaching, they're going to have an e-learning course. Right now, the courses you have to attend in person. The e-learning course is coming up. Check back with that website. I think it's worth to go to this course. Now, with your 34,700, if you feel that this course is important to understand at the very minimum record keeping requirements, then add on the 1930 for the course. And obviously you also want to add on travel, lodging, so on and so forth. Okay, but this course for many, this should be a requirement for your organization. If not, you can always hire an HR person. This HR person, not the cost, but the wages are going to probably well exceed 1930. But just start off with something. And also with the group SHRM, they have cheat sheets for federal record retention requirements. And actually, that is a source. That's where I'm getting this information from, is from them. But I'm just showing you that most people have a lack of understanding on what the record requirements are, and that lack of understanding can lead to costly litigation. Corporate filing costs, $1,105. If you are in California, you cannot own or operate a private security company under an LLC, limited liability company. You cannot. You could form a corporation if you want to limit your liability, but you cannot form an LLC. As of 2021, I don't see anything in the works for 2022. This can always change. Unless you guys push for legislation, they're not going to allow you to do this. They allowed private investigators to form an LLC. But that's because there's enough political push on that. But for private security companies, there's usually not a political push to form an LLC, or to be allowed to form an LLC. So let's discuss what 1105 is for. $100 is for a filing fee to file your corporate documents, your articles of information. After a month or so, you have to file an information statement, and then you have to pay a $25 fee. These fees can always change, by the way. So if you want to form a DBA, or you need to file DBA, in most counties it'll cost about $100, and then a filing fee. So if you want somebody to do it for you, it'll cost about $100. If you use an organization like LegalZoom, then you can pay them $250, and they will give you bylaws. They'll give you an EIN, which is actually free anyways. Okay, you can get that in a matter of minutes, and a business license. They'll do all this, and again, the $250 can change a little bit as well, but that will pay for those services. Registered agent. Okay, many organizations will charge you $250 for a registered agent. If you have a corporation, you have to have a registered agent. And what a registered agent is, it's a person that's authorized by the corporation to receive legal documents. So if you get sued, that plaintiff needs to know who to sue. They need to know who they need to serve. And a registered agent makes it easier for them. And you have to have one. Now, you could save $250 and be your own registered agent. Okay. The only bad thing about that is your home address is public information. And that's why a lot of people don't want to be their own registered agent. So that is $250. Some places are cheaper than that, okay, and some are more. $280 of compliance filing. This is if you allow an organization like LegalZoom to assist you. You're going to have to make quarterly reports, yearly reports. If you have a corporation, there's a lot of more formalities, and an organization like LegalZoom will charge you about $280. I encourage you to shop around for better prices. You might find a local attorney in your neighborhood who's willing to do these things for a lot more cheaper. Hopefully everybody has their pen and paper still out, or maybe you're using a word processing document to take notes of this presentation. Please update your notes. Press the pause button if you have to, come back. So this is going to be second year cost. You don't need to factor this into your startup cost. In particular, the startup cost of $34,700. These are going to be your second year cost. These are costs that you can reasonably expect. This may not be every cost, but these are ones that are typical here. So in California, we have a renewal fee. Please check what the renewal fee is for your state, for your private security company. $900 a year. Every 2 years you're gonna have to come up with. Okay, do not pay it late. The fees are hefty, you guys, if you pay your private security company renewal fee late. Don't do that. If you do have a corporation, you're going to have to pay an $800 minimum franchise tax. If you're in another state, go on the search engine and type in whatever state you're in, and type in what the minimum franchise tax is for your state. So in California, there's an 8.84% tax on a corporation's net income. That's 8.84. Now you're to select the greater, though. It's mandatory selection of the greater of 8.84%. Is it 8.84% or $800? Okay, but at the very minimum, you're gonna have to pay $800 minimum franchise tax. If you break even, your corporation breaks even, then you're gonna have to pay $800 minimum franchise tax. Okay, year 2. Now with California, they allow us to pay this tax during the second year, because they know a lot of first year companies, they have problems just getting up and running. They allow you to pay this tax the second year. The first year, I hate to use the word free, but you normally don't owe any taxes the first year. And for that reason, I like to start off personally a corporation in January. That way I get January all the way to December. I don't I could run my company under. I could run it in the red or break even, and I don't have to pay the minimum franchise tax. Now, year 2, okay, I do have to pay the minimum franchise tax. But if I start in January, I get that 12 months. Okay. $500 business license renewal. Okay, and this is assuming that you're in San Francisco. Remember, we discussed that there's places out there where there's a business license that you can get for $100 and something, some for $250. But again, let's budget on the high end. Please update your notes. And look, this is very important. When you start bringing in more revenue, you should put on the side. What I would do is I start storing every year $10,000. If you can't afford $10,000, put $5,000. But store something in litigation fees. You want to save about $40,000 in litigation fees just in case something happens, because I've seen companies fold because they're being litigated and they have no legal representation. Okay, their insurance carrier does not cover the type of peril that occurred. Okay, the type of exposure that occurred, their insurance company for some reason didn't cover it. So, save up for that legal fee. Okay, and there might be some areas, cities where you might have to litigate in order to get a contract going, or maybe you had a contract going and that contract was going to be canceled or disconnected. Somebody was going to breach that contract. Have those legal fees ready. Your company's going to have a lot more power if you have the backing of an attorney. If it takes you 5 years, 6 years to have that $40,000, then by all means do so. What I've seen and the way I came up with this number, typically for a senior insurance a senior insurance attorney to defend a plaintiff case on an insurance case, it would cost about to go all the way to trial about $80,000. I'm cutting this in half. Just find out what the legal fees are in your area and save. What should you do with this money? With 40 grand? Well, I discussed in other presentations, I discussed different ways on how to store your money, but hey, if you want to put it in the bank, it's up to you. If you want to store it in a money market like the S&P 500, Dow Jones, the NASDAQ, you can do that too. But just make sure that it's easily liquidable in case you need it. Cryptocurrency, again, that's another option, but you got to have it liquidable and readily available. The problem, I'm going to keep emphasizing this, if you put it in a bank, once that levy hits, once that quarter hits, those assets they're going to be frozen, you guys. So you might get sued by somebody and they might end up freezing those assets. Well, you might need those assets for attorney fees, but you can't get to them because they're frozen. So not only would I personally, I would put my money in different banks. Okay, just so that these fees that I saved up, that I work hard for, don't just get frozen or just disappear with a court order. Okay, put it in different banks, some well-known banks, some others that are not well-known banks, but that are FDIC secured. Credit unions, put them there too. These are my final thoughts. $34,700 is a lot of money. You might want to also tack in the first month rent to wherever it is that you're going to be having your office. Some places do not require a first month rent and others do. That is not tacked on to $34,700. If you believe that you are, you're going to have to tack on that amount as a startup cost as well. I encourage you to not borrow, especially from the bank, don't get a small business loan is my recommendation, and here's why. I'm going to reiterate the reasoning here. If you pay a 5% interest rate from your $34,700, your payment for a 10-year loan is about $430. Now, it might be off a little bit, but it's about $430 a month. If your business goes under, okay, you have to shut down, you're going to have to pay $430 a month for a business that you no longer have. And we know that about 50% of businesses fail within a few years of time. Will it be your business? I don't think it'll be your business, but this is a possibility. You don't want to be stuck with debt, and especially bad debt. This is debt that it's going to hang on to you possibly for 10 years, possibly longer. And I don't want to see anybody go bankrupt from starting a business. Okay, let's do it right the first time. If you save up $34,700, if you got to work 2 jobs or you got to start your security company a little bit later than now, then do so. But if you save up that amount or even more, if your business goes under, you don't have a monthly payment to pay for something that you don't have. And I want to stress this point. I've made this point already, but I want to just keep stressing it on my final thoughts, because I don't want anybody to fall in this predicament. Now, whether it's compound interest or simple interest, you're going to have to read the truth in lending statement, but that's more homework for you. A good thing also is in the second year, you don't have the same amount of startup costs. So you don't have to save up $34,700 a year. Your costs are going to go significantly down. The more contracts that you have, the greater chance of there being less strain on your operating costs. And that's just the way it is. Please, you guys, consider everything that you learned here. Ultimately, I'd like to know from you guys, what is your estimate for startup costs? What area are you in? What city will you be working in? What were you originally thinking on how much you should save? Does this discourage you? Does this video discourage you from starting a business? Is it more realistic now? Let me know what your thoughts are on this. All in all, I hope that this video, and I'm confident that this video, gives you a better understanding on the budgeting process, startup cost, and what you can reasonably expect in the wonderful world of private security.